Good morning, and thank you for joining us for SBB Live. I am your host and the publisher of Seniors Blue Book, Amanda Barton, and I am excited today to bring on some of our dear partners from the Neuropsychiatric Research Center, Dr. Deborah Silver and Robert Strake. How are you this morning?
Excellent, Amanda. Thank you for inviting us today. We always love meeting with your folks and talking about a subject that's so near and dear to our heart, right,
Absolutely.
Robert?
Thank you for doing this, Amanda, and we just love working with you in general.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to see you guys. I really appreciate your time this morning. I want to start today's interview by just asking that you tell a little bit about yourselves.
Wow, you first.
Well, I work here doing a community outreach and marketing for the Neuropsychiatric Research Center. We specialize in clinical trials, primarily for Alzheimer's disease, but we also do other CNS indications such as Parkinson's and other diseases, but our focus has been over the years, Alzheimer's disease in particular.
I have really had the pleasure and honor of working here to support our investigators. And I do this by doing things called pre-screening, meeting with people, gathering a lot of history about health and wellness, and then presenting it to the investigators. And then we work together in a partnership with folks to understand what is their health picture, what are their health risks, is there anything here that we might be able to do to help them, or would they need some referrals to our wonderful partners out in the community who offer such great support for various issues that seniors may face. I also do what are called ratings, and if a person becomes part of a study, that means I'll meet with them and administer various what we call cognitive tests to find out more about brain function and gather feedback about the effects and impact of investigational medications.
I love it. And I just want to bring to everyone's attention that Dr. Silver and Robert are very close, but they are socially distancing today. So neither one of them forgot to take a shower this morning.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Amanda, that we really are doing our best, whether we're using our face shields or, the combo with the mask, that we really are cognizant of the impact of COVID-19 on people. And we realize coming to outside of the home presents unique challenges for all of us, and particularly those of us who are seniors, me included.
Well, talk to me about why I would want to be a part of a clinical trial. What exactly is a clinical trial?
Wow, a clinical trial. Maybe if you think about coming here less as I'm going to participate in a clinical trial, you say, I want to go visit these folks because I want to have the best view of my health history at no cost. And it is amazing what pharmaceutical companies invest in the health of many people. I think a lot of folks don't understand that. And that 9 out of 10 people who come here do not become part of a clinical trial. Instead, they get a complete comprehensive health analysis by experts in the field of cognitive health and well-being. And they come in, gather all their medical records and share it with our investigators who are specialists in understanding about preserving brain function as we, through the whole lifespan, as we get older, and then give guidance about various potential health issues the person might have that could compromise the quality of brain function. And then refer them, 9 times out of 10, refer them to resources in our wonderful partnership with all these other folks. Many folks have things like sleep apnea, right, Robert?
Right, yeah.
And vitamin B12 deficiencies. I mean, there's so many reasons why a person might come in and say, I'm worried about why my brain does not seem like it's working right. And so we try to guide them, so thinking of this not so much as becoming part of a clinical trial, but improving your health status by controlling those modifiable risk factors, we call them. So we first identify them in a partnership with the person coming in. We gather a lot as a team, a lot of data, and then we guide them to first correct any modifiable risk factor. And then if they're one of the 1 out of 10 that actually does match for a study, and we have what, 9, 10 studies now?
Going at all times. And
Right.
one of the things that I want to add to what Dr. Silver is saying is that really the pressure is not to get you into a trial. There's so many steps before getting into a trial, but they all benefit you as the patient or the caregiver, because what we do is more being a clearinghouse for finding out what is exactly going on in your brain. And as a virtue of what we do, we actually have to exclude any potential modifiable risk factors. So what that means is that once you get into it, into the process, you might end up in a trial, but 9 out of 10 times, we actually can point you in the right direction too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like whether you get in or not, the benefits of being a part of the study are just overwhelming.
Right.
Now,
And you know what else? Once you do, if you are that 1 out of 10 that does match, it's amazing because you become part of a solution, and you have the opportunity. And now we usually have what's called a placebo arm in the study, which is we compare various levels of the investigational drug with something that placebo doesn't have any drug in it. And we look to see if there's a difference. But after a period of time, usually about a year,
months,
a year to 18 months, then the person, it rolls into what we call open label extension, where the person actually gets the investigational drug. And therefore, you're part of cutting edge treatments for what we are finding out really does make a difference to preserve brain health.
Yes.
Now you talked a lot about the steps leading up to getting into the trial. Now we're in the trial. We made it. We're that 1 out of 10. A couple of questions for you. First of all, do you have to be a Florida resident, full-time Florida resident? And do you have to have a partner with your clinical trial?
Two great questions, Amanda. Number one, we do have a couple of studies that allow for seasonal transfers. However, even those folks, they prefer to come back. Many times it's once a month check-ins, and they prefer, even though they could visit another site up north where they may live for the summertime. That's what we usually find. And they still want to come back here because they recognize the value of that continuity and the support and care that they do receive here. That's important. As to the partner, boy, we really count on that partner for their observations.
Absolutely. And the importance for having a partner in the study is because we're dealing with people most of the time with memory concerns. So the partner is actually the eyes and ears for the study to make sure that medicines are being taken on time, also to see if there's any changes in their health conditions, and following up on just the appointments, because as people progress in their cognitive functioning, even the little things kind of how would you say it, become harder and harder for them to control. So the study partner in a memory that clinic is study is very important.
No, it's so important to have that double check, and having both of them together creates powerful information and feedback about what's working and what isn't working.
Well, not only that, you can't be there at all times.
Good point.
Yeah.
Now, you sort of answered this, but I'm going to ask anyway. What is the typical check-in procedure when you're doing a clinical trial? Like, how often do you have to go in?
Usually it's monthly. Yeah. There is one study, I believe, that they come in every other week. They come in. And so it could take anywhere from between an hour or two to 3 hours typically. And it just depends. Are they coming in for the investigational drug? And usually they're an infusion, but not always. We have some that are called pill studies.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the check-in is just, saying, how are you doing? And asking a whole series of standardized questions that really seek to gather important information that reflects how their memory is working and how their problem-solving abilities are functioning.
And at times we also have studies where we're doing for diagnostic, which might be just a couple visits, or for healthy people where we might only need a couple of times of them to come to our site. And so those are not as frequent, but in general, if they get into a long-term trial, then that's the procedure. Mainly
Yeah, and that was actually one of my questions too, but I know it probably varies. And if you have 9 or 10 different studies going on at the same time, it may be 9 or 10 different answers, but how long are the clinical trials usually? How long do they go on?
Well, for years, some of them, and if you're lucky, for years. And we've got one that we're really excited about.
Yes.
And are we able to talk about that one?
We can talk in general terms, I think.
Well, in general terms, we have one that's been going on for several years now. And fortunately, more than 7 years. Now, I will give you some feedback. You expect a decline of 2 points on one screening test each year for a person who's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And in the case of some of these folks, not only haven't shown that, they've actually improved. And so this is exciting when we think about, tell what you said about tomorrow's.
We're really doing tomorrow's medicine today. So if you get into a trial, you're actually getting product, because every drug we take, from aspirin to Prozac, every one of them goes through a trial. So, at this point, we have several of these trials, in particular this one that Dr. Silver just referred to, where we're actually seeing that it's starting to get really exciting. So
that is very encouraging.
Right, yes. It's exciting because currently the only medications that are used treat symptoms, not the underlying process of the disease. These that we're involved with, they're affecting the underlying disease process, removing amyloid plaques and dealing with tau. And it is exciting as exciting can be. What a thrill. I'd say becoming part of a clinical trial, you have your fingers on the pulse of knowledge of what's happening in the field of treatment of Alzheimer's disease.
Now, you mentioned one thing that I do want to ask. As far as medications are concerned, we'll wrap it up with these last 2 questions. If I'm on a medication for Alzheimer's, can I still be a part of the clinical trial, would be the first. And the final question is, do you provide genetic testing when someone's going through these trials?
Yes, folks stay on their medications. That is a requirement, that they have to have medications stable over a period of time. So it's important that they do stay on. And as far as genetic testing, many of these studies do fund that.
Sometimes it is, most of the time it's voluntary. And then it's kind of like a sub-study to the study. But in general, it's a voluntary basis, but highly encouraged in some studies.
Perfect. And if someone wanted to be a part of a clinical trial, how would they go about doing that, and who would be a candidate that you're looking for at this time?
Well, how they would go about doing it is contacting Robert. He's our community liaison expert, and he can be reached at
239-939-7777.
And that is so exciting. And he can talk to them more about it and about, possibilities, and gather some information over the telephone. really seeking to identify initially the kind of support we might offer here.
Correct.
And then from there, Robert, what do you do?
Yeah, so once they call in, we will do a phone screen. In general, either myself or one of my colleagues will do a phone screen. And then based on the results of the phone screen, we will proceed with inviting them. 9 out of 10 times we'll invite them anyway, even if we don't think that they might qualify for any of our studies, because we believe that if they take the time to speak to us, we want to bring them in and at least help them facilitate to the community resources that there are. You know, we are set up for it. And one of the things that I want to enter it also is that, you know, the great thing about what we do is that we do have a relationship in the community that we work with on a daily basis. So for the caregiver, we almost become that support system that they oftentimes need.
And Robert, that's so important when you talk about that and you talk about getting them in here. Another thing, of course, my bias as a rater is I love to do ratings. And the best thing any of us over the age of 60 to 65 is get a baseline screening of your cognitive function. And we offer that with no cost associated. I hate to call it free because it's such a precious service, but it's at no cost. And that's something we really love to do, whether a person's intending to be part of a trial, to come in, get your memory baseline, and then yearly check in with us because things change. And we also then tap those folks who come in to be our ambassadors, to spread the word about the joys and benefits of becoming part of research and clinical trials in some fashion, whether talking to people about, hey, you've got modifiable risk factors, find out what they are and improve your brain health by discovering and then managing those.
Perfect, perfect. And I know that you've talked about resources a lot, and I'm sure everyone that leaves your building leaves with the newest edition of Seniors Blue Book as well.
Yes. Oh, it is a wonderful resource. Thank you so much, because that is one of our most valuable resources that we connect folks with. So thank you for doing that.
It helps us not to have to write things down. We can just point it.
Right. Sticky notes all the way through.
There you go. There you go. Well, I just want to thank you both so much for your time this morning and taking the time out of your busy schedules. And until we can meet in person, I hope you have a fantastic day and a fantastic week.
And Amanda, thank you for creating this resource, because it is a powerful, precious resource for all of us in the community to be able to refer folks to your website, to your materials, whether in hard copy form or in these series of videos. You know, I love the one you sent me, and we're going to be referring folks to all your videos. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Silver. Robert, have a wonderful morning.
And
likewise, thank you.